welcome back to That's So Nova. If it's your first time here, welcome, and I hope you enjoy the content that I provide today. And if you're a returning subscriber, hi, how are you doing? Today I am doing Swoon's Donna Vintage Handbag. Information out there about it, so I'm going to try to attempt to do it. This is my first time making it. It looks super cute, so I'm really excited to see how it turns out with me. I'm following the instructions, the interfacings, everything to the T. Now, throughout the pattern, as we're doing things, if you print out this pattern, I could tell you where I would modify, and if there's enough people wanting me to do a modified Donna video, I will by all means do so. This bag has endless potential, and I don't see it enough in the Swoon group. So what you're going to have, if you don't have this pattern, there's going to be an affiliate link down below in the comment section. This affiliate link, when you buy the pattern for its price, 20% goes kickback to me, which helps support the channel. I appreciate it. Because cost of materials and doing things does add up over time. So if you do purchase it through the affiliate link, I greatly appreciate it because you're helping tremendously. If you do have this pattern, I suggest you to print it out or get out your laptop or your iPad or whatever you read your instructions on, and you can put notes to it. If you ever look at any of my patterns, I usually have some kind of notations while I'm doing something, because I print one. I don't have a tablet, so I have a laptop and it's just too big to bring it in here. So I print out the instructions, and I like to write out like, oh, lower pocket needs to be blah, 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 add this, blah, blah, blah. So that the next time I make it, I can be like, oh yeah, I remember that. Just something I wanted to share with you. I have a couple camera views. You've seen the one in the intro. This is going to be the one that's showing the pieces, and you can see a little bit of the sewing area. And then I will have this other view that has my hand, I burned it on the iron. You'll see the sewing. So I'm trying to keep it so that you guys can see everything as much as possible. I was going to do this video live, but unfortunately, my household got hit with like 1-2 punch. I have 3 children, and I know if you have been subscribed to me, you've seen my kids do the Christmas box openings, and you heard them all. Well, when they went back to school, Hope was diagnosed with the flu on Saturday. And that's my middle child. And my oldest, she's a teenager in high school, and she has strep throat. The only one that's not sick is my youngest. My husband and I are both coming down with something. That's why I have a little bit of a rasp to my voice. So I couldn't do this live because in between giving Tamiflu, antibiotics, and all this stuff, I have to cut and paste. And it would be weird on a live, like, let me get off the live and then I'll come back. So I just wanted to do that, and I wanted to get this out because I know a lot of people have been asking for it. So without further ado, let's get into this pattern. Okay, so this pattern doesn't have a lot of pieces. You're going to need your strap for your strap pieces. You're going to need your connectors that are right here. I have zipper tape that I'm going to be using. And this is the other strap on it. There is on the pattern, if you go to the last page, this is the reason why it's really important to read through the pattern, because this pattern in particular has tons of different measurements, like 1/4 of inch, 1/4 of inch, 3/8, 1/2 inch, 1/8 of an inch. It's not your typical pattern. But on the very last page, before you close up the bag, it advises you if you want a stiffer bottom, you can glue or put a rectangular piece 10 inches by 4.5 inches wide inside the bag for like a stiffer bottom. So I have this just in case I want to do that. I have my bottom exterior. This is a faux leather that I got off of, I believe, Etsy a few years ago. And I have, I'm looking for the lining piece. Then we have our exterior top pieces. And I fused this with Woven Fix from Serial Bag Maker. And I have my exterior top piece, and it is basted on, but not through here, because this is where we're going to have the invisible zipper part. So another one. And if you notice that in my directional, we're going to, the curves get connected to the bag, that the strawberries are facing each other. I didn't want the strawberries all facing one direction. So I was either going to have them facing out or in, and I just decided to go towards that. We're going to have our 2 slip pockets. We are going to have 1 zippered pocket, and our interior and our 2 exterior pieces. Now, right off the bat, this bag has, oh, no, I'm sorry, and our 2 tabs. Right off the bat, I'm going to let you know that this bag does not have a slip pocket. It has a zipper pocket using the method of we're going to draw on one piece and put it together. This is a drop-in lining. So these are things that you're like, nope, nope, nope. I first want to ask you to look at the video, because a drop-in lining is a little bit easier than a lot of people believe it is. On my machine, unfortunately, it's going to be a little bit difficult, and you're going to see me squirm because I don't have a free arm underneath me. Most domestics, you can pop out a free arm and you'll be good to go. Personally, if I modified this, I would modify it to have a bound, have the inside bound, not only to give it more structure, but my personal preference is bound. So we're going to get started. I'm going to take all my pieces, and I'm using pre-made piping that I got from Joann's. You'll need about 2.5 yards. And let's start. So the main thing on this pattern is to follow where the foam is. They give you Alicia gives you tips on 805 how to follow the 1-inch gap. That is like key. She even gives you really awesome tips on how you can make your own pre-made binding, because you need about 2.5 yards of bias tape. And I'm a fan of making your own binding, because if I had enough of that strawberry and I was able to cut it on the bias, it would have been just such an extra cute popness. Or like if I found a red with like cream polka dots, or vice versa, or cream with red polka dots and made it into binding, it gives the bag a more finished, boutique, classy look. Now, nothing against pre-made, because pre-made saves you time, and if you can do it, it's great. I'm using red, and it's going to look really cute, I hope. So those are just some words. We're going to start with the zipper pocket right off the bat. We're going to take one of our interior pieces. I like the little bees. And we're going to grab our pocket. So we're going to find our centers, which I always try to draw my centers there. We're going to go 2 inches down. And I have a pen. Where is it? Okay, we're going to go 2 inches down. And we're going to draw 3 inches, making a 6-inch box exactly there. And then we're going to make the box go down a 1/2 inch, and you can just double check exactly 6 inches and go down a 1/2 inch. And this is where we're going to make our box. Okay, then we're going to grab our zipper pocket, and we're going to find our centers real quick by finger pressing, and we're going to go down 1 inch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift this, and I'm going to pop a pin. Now, if you're doing this with waterproof canvas, you could still do this method and pin it in, because if it's a finer pin, it's not going to puncture that big of a hole. But So I want to make sure it's exactly 1 inch. And you can kind of see the shadow of your zipper pocket on the if you lift it towards you. And just pop a few pins, or you could put double-sided tape. But I'm just going to put some pins. When I sew this zipper pocket, I like to use a smaller stitch length. I'm going to use a 2 or 2.5. I'm using a Saba Amon thread that I purchased from Steve from Sewing Gold, and it's a 40 weight thread, polyester. I start on one side and I do a few stitches and I back stitch. You take your time. Take your time. If you have to stop, stop with the needle down. And make sure you don't sew over your pins if you're using any. And if you're not using pins, again, there's a couple methods you can do. You can use these really nifty tiles that are called sew tights, and they're magnets, and you can place it right there and it'll be good to go. You could put a magnet above and a magnet up above and down below, and it won't move. You could use, like I said, double-sided tape. You can use Scotch tape and have Scotch tape coming, like holding down these sides. There's a lot of different methods you could do. You could take your pins and put them on the sides and they're nowhere near the box. It's countless, endless opportunities, the things you could do. And if I was to make this bag in a modification, I would not make the zipper pocket like this. I like the zipper pocket like this in a lot of different bags, but because this bag has such a vintage feel, I would probably either make a zipper facing, so that way I can have like a really clean pocket, or putting a zipper overlay over it. Just a few back stitches, and then I'm going to pull it out and not try to poke my fingers with the needles. It never fails. I will poke my fingers with some needles. Bear with me on my angles today. Usually my husband or someone is with me when I'm navigating it. There's been the last couple videos I do it by myself because everyone's either back to work or at school, and I want to make sure I can get the videos out that people are requesting. So bear with me on the angles. I'm going to grab my pen, and this is a 1/2 inch, so I'm going to go up 1/4 of an inch and just draw a box. Then I'm going to go, this is just my method. This is not what's inside the pattern. I'm a visual person, and if I see something, if I see lines, then it just becomes easier for me. So sometimes I draw out my V's so that way I'm not veering off too much from the course. You don't have to do this. You can just go straight into it and call it a day. Definitely like that approach too. So I'm going to grab my scissors, and I'm just going to cut down the middle, and then, oops, I almost cut right in my stitching. See, this is why I have to draw. Just have really sharp scissors. I noticed embroidery scissors are sharp for these corners. And if you accidentally do snip into your threads, just go around the box again at 1/4 of an inch, and everything should be fine. I'm going to flip this to the front side. If you had your iron, you would just press. I always press before I turn the pockets. It just makes your life a little bit easier. If you don't want to have to get up like me and go to the iron, you can get a seam roller. This is well loved because this had wording on it. This is from Finalizing bags. I have one of these everywhere. I love seam rollers. So I'm going to grab the pocket. I'm going to bring it back. And you can definitely give it a good press here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some double-sided tape and I'm going to place it in the area that I know I'm not going to stitch on, but it'll help keep the pocket lay flat a little bit. Just a little bit, not where, because we're going to have to close up this pocket. You don't want to struggle where you're like trying to get to close up the pocket and it's stuck down with double-sided tape. You just want it where you can easily put your zipper through. So I'm going to grab a zipper pull and some zipper tape. And I'm going to cut the burrs off my zipper tape. Hit it with a little lighter. And cut it. And then I'm going to grab some double-sided tape. And if you don't want to use double-sided tape, you can use pins. Or beacon glue. That glue is amazing. It does take a little time to dry, but it's not 15-30 minutes. It dries within 4 to 5 minutes. So you got to work fast, but you just have to. It's good. It doesn't gum up your needles as much as double-sided tape does. But you can use Dritz Wash Away, or Cereal Bag Maker has one too, and it doesn't gum up your needles as much. So I'm going to take this and make sure you have your zipper going the direction to the left or to the right, whatever. There's no wrong or right answer. Whatever you're comfortable with. One of my daughters is left-handed and she prefers all her zippers going to the right. Okay, so now we're going to sew around this box using a 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. And what I'm going to do is switch out my zipper foot. Switch out my foot to my zipper foot. This is my compensating foot, and I can measure 1/8 of an inch by the inside of the toe box of this, but I know we're going to be doing piping and all the fun stuff, and I really, 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 really love my my zipper foot. This is my narrow foot is my favorite foot for this machine. So while this is sticking, we're going to go 1/8 of an inch all the way around. And sometimes what I like to do is start on the sides. So that way when I backstitch, this is the area that's getting the reinforcement that it needs. And when you stop, make sure your foot is in needle down position. Since I like to go over the zipper area like 1 or 2 times because it's an area that gets a lot of stress. Okay, and we're going to trim these threads. Okay, and we're going to make sure there's no threads on there. We're going to close up this pocket. We're using to close up this pocket with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So we're going to start on one side. And we're going to back stitch well at the beginning and end. And within this 1/2 inch seam allowance, you'll be able to catch that little triangle bit. I always go over that one extra time because, again, that's where the area, when you're opening and closing, there's a lot of, you know, stress. Okay, we're all done there. We have a beautifully installed zipper for our lining. Now we're going to grab our main exterior panel pieces. I had everything organized really pretty, I promise you. But it's not me if there's not a little bit of wonkiness. Okay, so we have our, we're going to grab our exterior panel pieces and we are going to do some sewing. First, we're going to put these right sides together. And then we're going to make some markings so it's easier for us. We are going to sew with our regular seam allowance at 1 inch away from each side. Everything that goes after this is a basting stitch. So we're going to go our regular seam and we're going to stitch down 1 inch down straight along the edge. If you can't see, this line right here is the 1 inch mark. And you could pin this in place, clip it, whatever is easier. You could measure them up like this and just pop clips on the top. So that way there'll be minimal shifting because you're not sewing on the top. All right. So we're going to sew 1 inch with a regular stitch, and I would just go back. Now when we go here, we're going to use a basting stitch. So I'm going to use a 5. Okay, now we're going to stop, go back to our regular stitch length, and just back stitch. All right, we have that. We're going to trim our threads. And we're going to go to page 5. We are going to open this up. And hitting it with the iron would be the best right now, but I don't know where my mini iron is. I think it's upstairs. I use it when the kids are at home and I'm doing sewing projects like clothes or whatnot. I usually have the mini iron up there. Okay, so we're going to grab our 14-inch zipper. So I'm going to I have like a million a million lighters, and I like never know where they are all the way. And I'm going to cut a 14-inch zipper. And then I'm going to put my zipper pull. You can put 1 or 2. I'm going to do 2. I'm a sucker for 2 pulls because I have had bags where one of the pulls got damaged and the second pull was basically allowed me to keep the bag and still make it functional. That's why I like 2 pulls, because if one messes up, then you can just kind of shimmy it off and you still have another zipper. That's my method, the reason why I think. All right, so we're going to place this on here, our 14-inch zipper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some more double-sided tape. If you don't want to do tape, you can grab, I know I have Beacon by me. I always have Beacon glue everywhere by me. You can grab some Magnetac, some Beacon glue, and you can glue it down. But just wait till it gets a little bit tacky, so that way you can place it down and there's no shifting. You can use pens, especially if you're using cotton like I am, or canvas, or any kind of woven. You can use pens. An oldie but goodie. You can use magnets, a lot of different ways. Okay. And then we're going to take this zipper and where that 1-inch mark is, I should have wrote it on this side, so I'm just going to use some chalk. Yeah, my chalk pen is like, nope, you're not working today. Let's see. I'm going to use another marking tool because my chalk is not working. I'm going to use these erasable duo pens. They're one of my favorite tools too, because one pen makes the marks and the other pen erases it. Gonna make a 1-inch mark here, and now we should be able to put this in, and it is exactly that 14-inch. Okay, so we're going to take off this double-sided tape. Okay. And we're just going to maneuver this between the two. And I'm just going to move down the zipper pull so that way they're not in the way of the stitching. And you're just trying to put the zipper teeth inside the seam. Okay. Once we do that, we're going to unzip. We're going to use a zipper foot, and we're going to top stitch down the seam. I can't talk today. Top stitch 1/4 of an inch away from the seam using the zipper pull, sewing down each side. And we're doing 1/4 of an inch. So again, you can eyeball it, or you can I'm going to use a ruler. You can, hold on, let me see. Especially with these zipper pulls. Okay, 1/4 of an inch. Okay, I'm going to show you how these markers work then, because my chalk pen doesn't work right now, because that's the way it goes. So I'm going to draw 1/4 of an inch on both sides, and I'm also being cognizant of where the zipper pulls are, because I'm going to have to stop and move them both times. But I want the top stitching to be nice, and since this is secure, let's go. So you see the brown, and then after I'm done sewing, I'll show you how you use this pen to remove the marks. It's pretty cool. You don't need it for this. It's just something, an extra tool. Okay, the zippers are over here, so I'm just trying to push them out of the way, and as much as I can. You can grab an awl or whatever that can help you maneuver the zipper pulls. And of course, I had to do too, so you know, Nova being extra. Okay, and then I'm going to go on this side and just skip over a couple stitches and start sewing the 1/4 of an inch line that I drew. And I'm being cognizant of where that pull is again, and I want to make sure that I move it over. You can use your fingers too. Just move it on over. And this is why I like the zipper foot. As much as I can, so that way I'm not messing with the stitches. Alright, so we're going to trim our threads. Okay, and we're going to repeat the first step, sewing the top, the lining panels real quick. Except there's no zipper pulls. So, you know, there's the plus to that. We're pretty much with zipper installation done. 1, lining 2. Okay. Oh, and let me, even though the brown is kind of fading into the color because it's a khaki, you just use the water pen and that comes with it, and it removes all the ink. It's pretty cool. Makes my life a whole lot easier. So we're going to put these two together, right sides together for the lining. And then we're going to do the same step. We're going to one inch. Then we're going to go to a basting stitch. Stop. Go back to our regular stitch. And then we're going to open this up. And you can give it a good press or use your seam roller. Okay, we have these parts done. Now we're going to grab our exterior slip pocket, the one with the U, and we are going to add some piping. So for piping, we're going to match right sides together, and I'm just going to put a pin on the top. And let's see. You know what? I'm going to do it. Give me a second so I can do this. I'm going to do how I normally do piping. What I normally do is I put right sides together and then I start sewing like 1/4 of an inch away. And then I clip into it. That's what I normally do. You can do it that way, or you can use some wonder clips and hold it down in each area and then clip into the piping a little bit. No, we're going to stitch this, base this on using we're going to base this on first, like use a 1/4 of an inch, and then I think we're going to go into a 3/8. Right now there's like so many cool pins out. There are, if you go to any quilt shops, there are pins that are called like magical pins, and you can sew over them. They're meant for sewing over. Use whatever you have available that will make this job easier for you. Okay. It might be easier just to do pins or go freehand with it. You can't, I definitely like doing that. I might do that one on the second one. Why do I keep grabbing the same pin that has like, I use for unclogging my glue? I'm going to snip it here so I'm not having the weight of the other. So I'm going to move over my seam roller and I'm going to grab my tails and I'm going to just base this on. And just remove pins along the way. Not sewing over my pins. These are not the magical ones. Just going to, you can use your stiletto to get around those curves easier. You can add clips in the beginning of your binding. I'll show you that on the next one. You can add clips in the very beginning. And it helps. I think I even missed a spot here. I'm just going to go back real quick, grab these, get them out of my way. These are just like the regular ones you get for like at the quilting stores or Joann's or any supply store. All right. We're going to grab one of our lining pieces. And we are going to put them together. And I'm just going to grab some clips, clipping at the top and the bottom just to make sure that everything lines up. And then we're going to sew this at 3/8 of an inch. This little paper tape area is my 3/8 of an inch. Back stitching beginning and end. Fair warning, I'm not the best with buying piping. Sometimes I'm like on it, and other times I'm like, oh man, wonk wonk. Some people's binding is like outrageously cool in the group. I'm just like, I need to learn your skill. I know practice makes perfect, but man. Okay, I just want to. Okay, I'm going to go over this one more time, just because I didn't get really close to the other ones. Like, there we go, and that's close to 3/8 of an inch. Okay, so then we can clip in, doing little snips to make this lie easier. You can also, if that's just like, you're like, hey, I don't want to do that many snips, you can pink that area. You could pink that area, not going into your stitches, but it will help reduce the bulk as well as make it help lie better. Okay. And we're going to, this is cute. Top stitch. And we're just trying to make sure there's no puckers and everything's laying out smooth. Okay, and we're going to top stitch. Okay, we have one done, getting that excess interfacing on. We have one done. Let's grab the other one real quick and I will show you. The reason why I'm being a little really cautious about the piping is because it says exactly 2.5 yards and I only had exactly 2.5 yards in this piping. If I had extra, I would be like, let's do this. But I don't. So what I would suggest is you would like roughly measure out how much piping you're going to need. And then I would just make small snips that are no more than 1/4 of an inch, or no more than, definitely not over 3/8 of an inch. In the piping, small snips. This is because the pipings that you buy at Joann's are like usually a poly cotton base. So no more than 1/4. It just, what it does, it's kind of like when we are sewing a bag and the gusset's just too tight and you need to really make some ease within it so that way it could fit your exterior pieces. It's the same principle. So let's see. With this being like this, I can then put right sides together. I could take it over to the machine, and this is how I normally do my piping. And I would baste it on with a 1/4 of an inch. And because it has all these snips, it can go over the curves a little bit easier, and it's not as stiff. Okay. See, it's already its shape. So that's why I like snipping. All personal preferences. It's always personal preferences. Then I would match them, clip, match them, clip, and then just take a couple, like 1 or 2 clips and put it at the bottom. So that way there's no shifting. And then I would bring it over to my machine and sew at the 3/8 of an inch. Okay. Did I run out of bob? Let's see. Nope, I still have a little bit now. Sorry, my dresser behind me is like knocking. All right, so what I would do from here is remove the clips, look at from the exterior side if you miss something, like there's a weird bulk thing here, so you can unpick it and you can unpick it and like redo it, because I mean, I'm telling you, it's always a hit or miss with me. If there's just something weird, this is the part where you want to just triple check to make sure everything's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. This is a part of sewing. It's all about how you can fix your mistakes and keep it pushing. Yeah, that one whole area is just not good, so. And I'm going to fix it. I'm using a pair of embroidery scissors. And you can see it better now. All the pieces are laying flat and flush. And now I can take it over to my sewing machine and just fix that area. A couple back stitches back and forth. bobbin thread is acting up a little bit. See. Apologize for that. Sometimes bobbins act crazy. Okay. Now I can go back and do that marker. Okay. Okay, sorry about that. I had to do some sick kid stuff and now I'm back. So we're gonna top stitch just like we did the original one. And then what you're gonna do is bring the main panel over and you're gonna place your slip pocket that you just stitched down, that I have a little bit overage, and I'm going to trim. Like, this is the time for you to trim any excess, if you're like me that has excess Ship Flex or Woven Fix or Sew Fuse everywhere. So just make sure it lines up right. And I'm going to place a clip there. I'm just making raw edge of the fabric to raw edge of the fabric. Not trying to drop a million clips like I just did. And we're going to base this on 1/4 of an inch. Because I'm using cotton. It's going to base on pretty, without any issue. You can use as many clips or as few clips as you want. The discretion really is up to you. Some people can just go without any clips. Some people will have to use a lot of clips. I know whenever I'm putting the gusset together, I use a lot of clips. Okay. So we just put the line, attached the lining like we did on page 6. And we're going to go to page 7. Before we do, I'm going to I want to put a little nameplate. So I'm going to find my center. I'm going to make a little snip in my center. And why I'm like right here, I'm going to make a little snip on the bottom too. A little V. And just cut off anything that's overhanging past the panel because we want everything to line up. All right, so I have my little V's and I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to put my emblem or tag. It's weird saying emblem. About 1.5 inches down from the center. I ran out. I need to make some more of my leather one, so I'm just using the metal one. I would have preferred to use, just sew it on. But, you know, work with what you got. I like, I also need to get more of the tags, the fabric tags. I love those. All right, so I have 2 little slits, and then I'm going to use some fray check because this is a, like, I want to say like a linen type cotton, and we all know that loves to fray. Linen canvas type. Okay. Make sure that's just it right. And so that it doesn't rub on any additional pieces. I don't want any like friction between the lining fabric. I mean, there's not really going to be because we're going to drop in, but you know, it's always err on the side of caution. We're going to take our scarlet piping and we're going to start putting them on. So she wants you to leave about an inch of tail of the piping tail, so that way it can cross each other. So I'm going to, on my center, kind of bend this part down, and I'm going to start basting the piping on using 1/4 of an inch. Ooh, this is why it's always better also to make your own. I always get the ones that want to unravel. So I'm putting it down kind of at a little bit of a slant, and I'm gonna start on it, and I'm going to back stitch just to hold it, and then I'm going to bring the raw edges to meet the raw edges. And you can use a stiletto, not use your finger and be so close. Ask me how I know. It's still, even though no matter how many times I've got poked by this machine, I still like want to use my fingers. It's like strings falling all into my lap. Let's see. Believe it or not, we're almost done. This bag doesn't have a lot of components. Like when we just did one zipper pocket, I would have done like a slip pocket with it, maybe another zipper pocket. So there's like a lot of different things you could do. But this is the reason why we make videos, right? So we could like see how other people do things and like, you know, figure out what you can do differently and how you could truly make a bag yours. I'm holding on to thread so you don't have to rethread it as many times as I have. And okay. So we have one, and then you repeat on the other side. So you have your two little cuties right here, and just trim off any excess threads. And we have two really cute slip pockets that come together beautifully. So next, what we're going to do is we're going to fold in our next handle. I have just piping everywhere. So you can fold this in onto itself. You can use double-sided tape. If double-sided tape is too much, you could try to use like some Magnet-Tack or some beacon glue, so that way it doesn't gum up your needles. You can wait till it gets nice and tacky, but that's why I think they call it fabric tack, because it's like immediately tacky when it comes out. Make sure you're in a well ventilated area. This one is not as strong, but if I can smell it, that means it means something. I have the worst sinuses ever, like unbelievably the worst. And we're just going to, you want to fold it and leave about 1/16 of an inch away from each other so that these parts can collapse onto each other without I can't think of the word. You won't have that additional bulk. So like leave 1/16 to 1/8 of an inch little gap. And we're just folding along and clipping like any other strap handle that you've done in the Swoon line. It's very similar. I'm just showing you how to do it with using fabric-tack. And it's sticking. And this is like a lower fleece pile in the back, so it adheres pretty well. And then I would just increase your stitch length, because now we're going through, I'm using vinyl. If you're using cotton, you're going through 4 layers of cotton and 4 layers of your woven interfacing. So that's 8 layers. So increase your stitch length would be very helpful. If you're using waterproof canvas, then you're going through 4 layers, and it just depends on your machine if it acts okay with it. We're going to just do 1/8 of an inch all the way down. Take your time. If you do stop with the needle down. And then I'm just going to pull the threads. You can stitch over too, like I usually do. Or you can sew it the same direction, because sometimes, these little straps, they want to get all twisty. And it could be something as simple as sewing it in the same direction that can help prevent it. Like mine is already twisting. And I think sometimes it just depends on the vinyl. Like whenever I have marine vinyl, my straps never twist. Whenever I have something with like the fleece kind of backing, I get twisty ones unless I sew them both going the same direction. It's definitely a big learning curve. That's a consistent learning curve that we're always never ending going through. But we have our strap all ready to go. And the next thing we would need to do is our strap connectors. We're doing very similar. You're going to fold them onto themselves, except it's half the size. It's 1.5 folded into each other, and it makes a 3/4 of an inch ring. And then I took it over to my, with my zipper foot and stitched so that the bar, like it won't get all, like, it won't look like super loose, or I'm trying to think of a word for it. Like it won't, the hardware won't sink. I can't think of words today. I'm telling you, cold and flu season. Be careful. Let's see. I'm going to trim these up. And this was some scrap vinyl. The reason why I chose to use vinyl is I had this scrap vinyl and it's such a pretty color, and I don't know where I got it from, except I know I got it from Etsy because it said Etsy on the roll, but not the store. My method is flawed. So, I didn't want to get rid of it, but it was not big enough for really any kind of project. So I found this bag is so cute and dainty that I was like, why not use it for this? Because I can use a little bit of vinyl and have like a cute bag out of it. So we're going to start assembling our gusset. As you can see, I use the vinyl there, and we're going to put together, we're going to pin, or you can't pin on vinyl, or clip the length of the vinyl to have the piping raw edges meeting raw edges. So we're going to go back over here. And when working with vinyl, I definitely recommend, sorry, I'm just getting rid of excess foam. I've machine basted all my pieces. I never have I don't use the fusible one. I have had like not good luck with it, so I'd rather just machine baste it and call it a day. Like I showed you with even with the cotton. You could use Wonder Down Under, and it's like a double-siding basting interfacing, and it's pretty cool. So I'm going to trim the threads and trim off excess piping. All right. So then we're going to go to page 9, and we are going to take, of course, the they just had a drop, but at least they dropped it, so I'm like, yeah, they're here. We're going to take our seam ripper, our zipper seam exterior shown below, and we're going to match raw edges basting with our machine our zipper tabs. So let me grab our bag. I'm going to place this. Now this right here can be, this pattern it's not a crossbody. It's very much a cute little vintage handbag. However, if you interface this correct, like with Shapeflex 101 or Sew Fuse, whatever woven interfuse you wish to have, and you put maybe like a cross ribbon in there, it will be strong enough to hold 2 additional D-rings where you can make it a crossbody. But you don't even really need to do that, because the way this is set up, you can actually attach, if you are really adamant about having this to be a crossbody, you can attach swivel hooks to either for the connectors. So we're going to take this over. We're going to machine baste this at 1/4 of an inch on both sides. Bring this up here. Okay. And I'm going to trim our tails. Bring this over and do it on the same exact side. And if you did better fussy cutting, but again, I used fabric that I didn't have a lot of. If you do better fussy cutting, you can, like I probably could have fussy cut it so the strawberries were showing. Just something to think of. I didn't want to try the vinyl because I didn't know how thick the seam was going to be. Again, this is my first time making it here with you, and I'm kind of excited because I'm loving the look of this bag. I have like all these ideas of how I want to put together, another one together already. So now we're going to put right sides touching And we're going to attach the piping foot attached together with the piping. And we are going to use a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Sorry, I'm just rereading it because, like, it has a the pattern itself has so many different seam allowances throughout it, like 1/4 of an inch, 1/8, 3/8. So, and as you'll see when we talk about the lining, it has even a 5/8. So this paper tape is my 3/8 of an inch mark. When I sometimes use the magnet as well. It just, I don't know, I just use this tape. I have no idea why. There's no reason other than that's what I do. I'm going to bring this over, put raw edges matching, and we're going to back stitch well in the beginning and just keep going. All right. And okay. I have like so many threads and so much foam. Okay, so after we machine base that, you're gonna do the lining exactly the same way, but you're gonna be using a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. So this is how this is looking right now. That's really cute. I'm not gonna even lie, that's super cute. I love this. So we're going to, hold on, I'll put the machine and stitch along the short end 1/8 of an inch closer to the cording. Press the tire seam away and top stitch 1/4 of an inch. Sorry, my machine is gonna get really smushed in here. Oops. Okay, now I have done this before, okay, and it's gonna look weird, but it works. I like to chain stitch, and chain stitching is basically sticking your machine under like the toe of the next piece to sew. Now, when you do this, you need to be very, very, very cognizant of where all your material is. You don't have to do this. It's just something I do because I hate cutting threads. That makes sense, like long tails. And it's just decorative top stitching, and I don't know, it weirdly looks, I could see that they match because they're closer together, if that makes sense. I still have to trim, of course, but if you have a computer machine, I'm jealous of your trimming feature because that is my weakness. Okay, so you would do the lining exactly the same what we did, but except you would use a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. And then I'm matching, we're going to find our centers. We're going to match the side seams together. So what I do is I usually match exactly where the side seams are, put a clip in it. Do that on the other side as well. Put another clip, and then I fold this down as neatly as possible make sure that everything is sitting okay, and I'll put a V cut, a small little V, because our seam allowance is 3/8 of an inch, so I just want it to be big enough where I can see. We're not working with a whole lot of material here, so you should be okay. If you're working with cotton, you can definitely put pins. You can make little marks too. Okay. All right, so we have that. We have all the corners, and we have that. I'm going to now, you're going to do the same exact thing to the lining, and make sure you have all your centers. Then we're going to grab our 2 panel pieces, exterior panel pieces, and we're going to make some marks so we could put these little cuties on there. Okay, so we need to find our center, which is always important. And we have to do that anyways because of how we're gonna pin the gusset on. Small little V. And your center should line up to your piping, which I'm going to cut off these little tails because it's all secure, but you can see my V is right there. And do the same thing on this little one. This is so tiny. Like in the picture, I think the reason why I always get confused is the Donna kind of looks like the Stellar Weekender bag. So when I think of the Stellar Weekender bag, I'm like, that is a massive bag. So I guess I've always assumed that this one was massive too, but I stand corrected. It's a very petite and charming little bag. So what we're going to do is, once we find our centers, we're going to measure 2 1/4 of an inch away from each center. And I'm going to grab my little marking tool again. Same thing on the other side, 2 1/4 of an inch. Just always check. And then do the same thing on here, 2 1/4 of an inch away. Sorry, I'm cutting away any excess foam I see in the curve because I don't want that to be accounted for my seam allowance, because then it may not catch everything that I need it to catch. So it helps to trim. And I'm really bad. When I machine base my foam, I'm really bad. I know it. I should be better at it. So we're going to baste these down at 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to bring these over, and I'm pinning outside of the line that we made. So right on the line, I'm going to be having, they're supposed to be 2 1/4 of an inch away on both sides. And doing the same thing on here. Right sides down, raw edges meaning raw edges. Okay. So I'm going to baste these down 1/4 of an inch. And I'm going to try a trick today. The other day I was sewing and I did not have my hum jumper. I do not know where my hum jumper is. And someone was telling me to just grab your sewing box, or your needle box, and which I'm doing now. when you use your needle box, and it can act in lieu of a hump jumper or a ruler. And I was like, I never would have thought of that. So I'm trying that little trick out right now. That little nugget is gold. I love learning tips and tricks. We have so much to learn from one another in the community. So like this is going to go, I'm going to start on the machine, but like you can transition. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. I did not know that. And we're about to come to another hump right now. And what I'll do is I'll stick my machine. Oops, I should have went with it better. And that worked. That's pretty cool. I love that. All right. So we have all that ready to go, and we are going to start constructing. So weird because I immediately want to grab my lining so I can start putting it together. So of course you start with matching your centers, and we have a couple bulky spots. So we have the area that where the piping is and it goes down, and we have our I can't talk today. We have our little areas where the connectors are. So just be patient with your clipping. If this is where I think would be a great time to start. If you wanted to start stapling, maybe this can be a great project because it's not that big. And just a thought. And just I'm uncurling because my piping tape keeps wanting to curl up. I didn't iron it. Normally, if I buy pre-made, I usually iron it before, and I think that's where I made my mistake. Just making sure everything lines up right. Stop curling piping, that would help tremendously. Okay, well, we're going to start sewing this together. Attaching this at using a 3/8 of an inch. So our existing stitch was at 1/4 of an inch, so you need to just go up 1/8 of an inch from the existing stitch, which is 3/8 of an inch. So you could start wherever you're more comfortable with. I don't know why I always like starting at a side seam, but you know, que sera, sera, you know. Back stitch. Take your time during the curves. If you need to use a stiletto, by all means, go for it. Whatever can help you achieve like the bag that you want. I'm trying to look. I have like a bazillion stilettos, but then when I look for one, and I just navigate it. Try to stop in the needle down position. the great thing about foam is the more you sew with it, the more it compresses in that area, which will help tremendously with any bulk you think you may have or receive. I'm a person that I like foam. I like Decaville light too. I like all interfacing. I am open to any. There's like, I'm trying to think of, is there any interfacing I am not a fan of? Because I don't really think there is. Because I think every interfacing serves a different purpose. But I understand why a lot of bag makers like both of them. I like foam for a lot of bags because it's lighter. Decaville light and Decaville heavy have some substantial weight to it, and foam is lighter. So let's say if you're doing this for customs, I would maybe be open to asking people if they want that, if they have like shoulder or back injuries, because it's lighter to carry. Decaville heavy and light are supposed to kind of like be like leather. That's what gives it a certain feeling of leather. So just something to think of. I definitely could see this being made out of Decaville though. I could see with a combination of maybe Decaville light and like a fusible fleece, like a Pelon lamb, or a fusible, any kind of infusible fleece would be great. Okay, so I didn't stay at 3/8 of an inch all the way around, and I should have. But what we're gonna do right now is why this is like this, I'm going to flip this out to see if we caught all the edges, or if there's any areas which I already see that I have to get to. I went over in this area, and I'm going to have to resew that particular spot real quick. But you just want to poke it out to see how your piping looks, if you need to adjust anything. Just real quick, because when we start, this is looking cute. Just really quickly, just see how your piping's looking, if everything looks okay. And I'm just going to resew this part right here that I definitely veered off the 3/8 of an inch. I went a little bit more closer to a 1/2 inch around that curve. This is the perfect opportunity if you're like, no, I want more of my piping to show. I'm going to remove some stitches. And this is why also generally sometimes when I do my first bag, I use cotton, because cotton is so forgiving, like so unbelievably forgiving. And had this been vinyl all the way around, I would have been upset maybe because my piping's not showing, because I am like going stitch crazy over that curve. And I generally have a tendency of doing the exterior side first when I'm putting together a bag, to pop it over so I could just flip it over to see how does the exterior look. Okay, let me try this one more time. Shinova, let's get this right. All right. All right, so yeah, just pop it out. See if your piping is looking consistent, if it's where you want to be. Because this is the time to correct anything that's looking flawed in your eyes. There's no such thing as a flawed bag to me, because every bag has like a little bit of quirkiness that I like. So now I'm going to, before I put the other one on, I'm going to open up this zipper real quick. And also, I can see where I did not erase that brown line right here. Just gonna pick these little threads out. And just finish unpicking. This is so clever. I know the hidden connector is not for everyone, so let me explain something before we go further. If you're like, hey, I want an exposed zipper, then you can remove the 1 inch seam allowance. Remove that the placement that is exactly 1 inch, and you can have an exposed zipper. Everything should line up with a size 5 zipper. And if it's a little too wide, when you put the gusset together, you always could trim it down. It's always okay to trim it down. You can't add stuff on. You can always take away. But I do implore you to try the exposed zipper whenever you have a chance, because it is a great vintage, like, technique that it does give the bag a really luxe look and feel. So here we go. And I'm going to trim these rogue threads, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to line up, let's see, line up the little snippets that I made. I like to put a clip on either side, and let's see. Let me see if I move you a little bit. If I can, would it be easier to see? I'm not too sure. So I'm just going to start clipping, unrolling my non-iron bias binding tape. My bias piping tape. A little better. Let's see. I'm sorry. I'm not meaning to move you. I changed the position slightly from when I had that small break to take care of some household stuff, and family stuff. And I just want you to be. I'm just clipping around. And another thing about foam, there's a little bit of give, a little bit of wiggle room. It has a little bit of stretch. You're like, I get it, Nova. You love foam. And I do. I'm just moving it around and clipping and just making sure that the piping underneath is not curled up, because it keeps trying to do so. So I'm just a little cognizant of that. And that's... not it. And I'm trying to make sure I have a really good shot, so when I put try this drop-in lining, you can see if I do good, then you can mimic. If I do bad, you know what not to do. Again, use as many or as few clips as you want. Okay. All right. So we are going to start sewing at 3/8 of an inch. You can start anywhere you wish, the beginning, the end, whatever you're more comfortable with. Just make sure you backstitch. And take your time. There's no rush. And if you have like a crinkle or wrinkle, make sure it's above your stitch line, not below. Take your time over the bulky parts. As my machine just wanted to rev up. I promise you, every time I say take your time, my foot wants to go like pedal to the metal and just like, yeah, we got this. But there's no race. Back stitch, and we're going to turn this, but you can like look inside your bag just to see if there's any like blemishes, but because again it's foam, it turns relatively easy. This is cute. Okay, there's just one little area over here that I want to redo. So I'm going to bring you back down here and I'm going to remove some of these stitches on this one curve. It's the funny thing that it's like the same exact curve I did on the other side. Just, I went like a hair too much. So you can't see the piping. It's like you only can see a tad bit of it, so that's not what I want. So I'm going to uncurl that area and secure the stitches before by locking with a few stitches. And then, let's see. I just dropped a whole bunch of thread. Hold on. Taking my stiletto that fell and bringing it over here. All right. Let's see. Okay. So we're moving all these threads. This definitely is going to need a good press afterwards. So just go, you know, check over. At this point, you're at the home stretch. We did the same thing as the lining. This is super cute. Why is this so cute? Let's see. All right, so we're going to now, you did everything that you were supposed to with the lining. So, ta-da, magic. The lining's done. So we're now going to drop the lining in. Now, there is a reference on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On the 5th, like, small paragraph below, you can add an optional 10 by 4.5 inches bottom. To be honest with you, It doesn't need it, but I can see how I can make it look even cooler. And I'm just putting it inside the bag, getting a feel for it. And then I'm going to take some fabric tack glue and just do some glue doodles. Yep, I just said glue doodles. Just so it can adhere to the bag. Open the zipper mouth up, nice and wide. No glue, no glue, no glue on anything other than the inside. I definitely can see this bag for binding. I think the next one I do, I'm going to bind it. Because this is a really cute bag, and I'm mad that I never got it before because, like most people, I'm afraid of dropping linings. All right. So in here it's saying, it tells you to put right sides together, and I'm putting the zipper towards the back. And we can pin and go over the 1/4 of an inch seam allowance we did in the beginning, which I don't think would be that bad, but I actually think it would be quite easy with double-sided tape. Double-sided tape for the win. Let's do this. So I'm going to put double-sided tape all the way around, all the way from one section to the other section, and do the same on the other side. And it also mentions any kind of, she encourages hand sewing in any area. I'm going to not have the double-sided tape on within this. I'm going to have it outside the seam allowance. So that way it could stick, but it won't gum up my needles. Do the same thing. We're using a 1/4 of an inch of a seam allowance to sew it. So I'm just putting it outside of that 1/4 of an inch. So that way, if I have to move anything, it's not like gumming up. So see, there's the double-sided tape, and it's outside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick this inside. Bear with me. I'm trying to get you in a better position. Okay. I'm going to take the double-sided tape off of one side first. And I'm going to shimmy up my zipper and put the double-sided tape right on the side of it. I'm just lining up where the zipper is. On one side. And it should fit nice and snug because we used a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, so I have one side in, and I'm going to pop a few pins just for that extra security because I'm kind of nervous. And I'm going to sew from, if you can see from the inside, I'm going to move this out of the way. I'm going to sew from right here, from where the 1 inch mark begins to the other where the 1 inch mark begins, where there's where the closing is. And so I'm going to pancake. I call it the pancake method. I'm going to pancake it, and I'm going to move my zipper pull out of the way, have my foot up, and pray to the sewing world that I actually pulled this off. If I do, it's going to be super cool. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to smush, and then when I'm stopping, I'm going to stop, put the needle down. Okay, we could do this. Yeah, I was reluctant. That was me hesitating. Stop with the needle down. As you can see, I do have pins. I'm just going to squish this away because it's foam and I can't. Poke my finger with the needle, maybe just a little bit. Taking your time, breathe, you got this. There's nothing that you can't do. If chances are, if you're looking at this bag, you've made other Swoon bags. So you know how to do this. And again, if you want, drop in the comments if you want to see how I would modify this. Because I have ideas. I always have ideas. And I'm going to get it as close as I can. One more stitch and then go back. One more stitch. Oh snap. Okay. Okay. We are going to be okay. We totally 100% got this. Okay, so we have one side in, and we're going to do the same thing on this side. We're going to, one, Shinova, cut your thread so that they're not going to get tangled up. Two, we're going to remove the double-sided tape from the second one. Line it up. And then stick a pin. I'm having it way out of the seam allowance. I don't know, maybe it felt like security. Does that make sense? Like it helped with extra, like an extra pair of fingers, I guess. And I'm just lining it up. Putting another needle in it. Okay. Just getting it all lined up. I will put the name of the fabrics I have used today in the description, except the vinyl. I don't know where I got the vinyl. The hardware, the D-rings I got from Tandy Leather. They were the only 3/4 of an inch D-rings I was able to find. I believe I got this fabric and the interior fabric from Finalizing bags. All right, so we're about to stitch this second side. You're looking real cute, Donna. You know you are. Oh my gosh, this is so cute. I definitely hope to see more Donnas in the feed. Hopefully this will be able to help. I know I said I was going to go live. Maybe I'll do the modification live. Cold and flu season, man. It's just cold and flu season. And 3 kids at 3 different schools. 1 in elementary, 1 in junior high, and 1 in high school. And I kid you not, my youngest daughter got tested for the flu, COVID, and strep, and she didn't have COVID and strep, she had the flu. My oldest daughter fell ill like 2 days later. When we took her to get tested, they did the same and, you know, 3 tests. And then all of a sudden she has strep. So I'm like, what? Oh, man. So lots of tea, lots of honey, lots of mommy care going around. And mommy's like, okay, I know I'm going to get it. So be prepared. My voice is a little nasally, but it's also fall and ragweed and everything is out. So I'm going to, again, do my squishing method and squish this bag down. Just saying it again because, you know, you don't have the creases because it's foam. I'm going to do a few stitches forward. I'm trying to stay in the same stitch that I made initially. And taking my time. Moving my hardware out of the way and making sure that the other side doesn't come creeping into my seam allowance. See, I just have the pins on the side. They're nowhere even near the needle. It just felt secure. So I was like, let's go with it. We're getting closer to that edge.